Welcome to the first episode of the MW Sports Show, where we will not yet reveal our names, but mine starts with a M, and my guest here has a name starting with a W. And also, my last name starts with a W. And yeah, that is basically where the podcast title came from. Today, as made obvious from the title of the video, we will be doing NFL predictions for the upcoming season, which will include several surprise picks throughout. So, Mr. W, do you want to jump right into it?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, then. We're going to start with the AFC East, go division by division. So, in first place in the AFC East, I have the Buffalo Bills as the 3 seed in the AFC. I like where this team is headed with Josh Allen. I think they could make a deep run in the playoffs. And that defense is very solid. As long as they stay healthy, they'll definitely be right up there. Number 2, I have the Jets as the 5 seed. Obviously, getting Aaron Rodgers and having a very talented roster should be right in the mix. 3 seed, now this is a bit of a surprise. I have the New England Patriots. A lot of people think they'll be last. But there's one team that I'm a little iffy on that I have in 4th place, which is obviously the Dolphins. And obviously the Dolphins are more talented than the Patriots, but the Patriots do have Bill Belichick, so therefore I have them 3rd in that division.
Mr. M, I'm going to have to agree with you on those first two. I think the Bills are a real solid team that'll win that division again, as they've done on repeat here. It's just a solid offense that's backed up by a solid defense. I think the Jets, like you mentioned, getting our guy, number 12, Aaron Rodgers, will be big for them. And it's a young team, but it's a talented team. So I think those will be the 3 and 5 seeds, respectively. But later in the division, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think the Dolphins are going to also sneak into the playoffs with the 6th seed. They've got a lot of speed, a lot of talent. I think Tua is going to take another step. I think Mike McDaniel was really, was a successful coach in his first year, and I think he'll be all the wiser this year around. And as for the Patriots, I'm one of those haters you referenced. Even though they got Bill Belichick, I just think the division is so good that even if they do get to 7 or 8 wins, I think they'll finish in last place.
Yeah, very fair. All right, let's move on to the AFC North. Starting off, pretty much a consensus number 1, the Cincinnati Bengals. Although Joe Burrow did get injured in offseason at some points. Should be back pretty soon in the season, but I do have them as the 1 seed. You can pick pretty much anybody to be the 1 seed in the AFC, but I think the Bengals have a lot of talent. Should be right up there. Number 2, bit of a surprise. I have the Steelers as the 7 seed. With Mike Tomlin, they always seem to go above 500. So I think that'll continue. They'll make the playoffs. And yeah. 3, I have the Ravens, and I could see the Ravens move up in this division if they stay healthy. But that's been the big problem the last couple of years. So that's why I have them in 3rd place. And in 4th place is the Browns. They are somewhat talented, but, overall they're the Browns. I don't know how much I can actually trust them. So, yeah.
On the Bengals, I certainly agree. I think they're going to be the number 1 seed. I don't think that anyone can compete with them over the season, assuming that Joe Burrow is healthy. After that, though, I don't see another playoff team in this division. I think the Ravens will finish 2nd with the Steelers, a close 3rd, but I just don't think those teams have enough to come. Someone's got to fall short in this very talented conference that is the AFC, and I think the AFC North will just be the losers. But yeah, 4th is the Browns. I think they'll find some footing probably later in the season, but for now, I just can't believe in them. It's the Browns. They struggled. Kevin Stefanski's been good, but there's just not much there.
Yeah, agreed. Anyways, let's move on to the AFC South, where this could definitely be the worst division in the league. You do have one team that I think a lot of people have first in this division. That's the Jacksonville Jaguars as the 4 seed. Obviously taking steps last year with Trevor Lawrence. I think a very good defense. and just the rest of their division is pretty trash. So they should win this division, although you never know. It is the Jaguars. Number two, bit of a surprise pick. I have the Houston Texans. I like C.J. Stroud. I think he can definitely lead this team to some success. Obviously, not too much success, but I don't think they will be as bad as the last few years. Three, I have the Titans, who got DeAndre Hopkins, and they have Derrick Henry, but I just don't love this team, especially their quarterback situation. And then in fourth place, I have the Indianapolis Colts, another team that I just cannot trust right now. I think Anthony Richardson could be good eventually, but right now, I don't know. I think they'll be in last place in that division.
I agree with you a lot on this division. I think it's just a very AFC South, where I think the Jaguars will get a lot of wins just getting to play these teams 6 times, but so I think the Jaguars will win the division by a pretty comfortable margin. I agree with you on your surprise pick. I think the Texans will finish second. I think C.J. Stroud will be really talented quarterback that in this division will get them enough wins to finish second. Um, they've got a new head coach in D'Amico Ryans, his first ever head coaching job, and I think that I believe in him. I believe in him. Now after that, my surprise pick is that I think the Colts will finish third, and not because I think they'll be great, just because I think the Titans will be worse. I think those two teams are probably the two worst teams in the AFC, and think they should have a good battle in the Tank Bowl.
Yeah, it's definitely the AFC South for you. And the other South division, for that matter. We'll get there soon. But next up is the AFC West. Pretty obvious choice for number one here. I have the Kansas City Chiefs. As long as Patrick Mahomes is there and healthy, they should definitely be right up there in the AFC, and often in the championship game. But I have them as the two seed this year. Um, the second place in the division, I have the Chargers, which is also a pretty common pick as the sixth seed overall in the playoffs. Justin Herbert got paid a lot. He's obviously a very talented quarterback. We'll see if they can actually put it together and win some playoff games. But as of now, they should definitely be second in that division. In third place, I have the Denver Broncos, but I do think they could be a bit of a surprise pick. I think Russell Wilson will definitely improve, and they have a great defense. Sean Payton now as a coach, so I could see them surprising, but I still don't think they'll be, great. And then fourth place, I have the Raiders, and yeah, I don't know, they're just not that good in a very good AFC.
Yeah, I think this division is pretty straightforward. I think the Chiefs are going to continue their stranglehold that they have in this division. I think the Chargers will manage to sneak in. I think Justin Herbert is still a quarterback who's going to keep on growing and keep on learning. Maybe I'm just entranced by his beautiful hair, but I do think that even if it comes down to tiebreakers, I think they'll sneak in with the last spot. The Broncos, they should win some more games with Sean Payton as head coach. That'll be really interesting to see how him and Russell Wilson work together. There are two guys who have had a lot of success in the past, but the Broncos just have so far to go before they could become a playoff team. And of course, the Raiders in last place. I don't really foresee them competing with even the Broncos. They just don't have a lot of talent there. And I don't think you'll be really hard pressed to find anyone in the media or in the general NFL fandom who does believe in them.
Yeah, definitely seem like a last place team, but you never know. All right, on to the NFC, definitely the weaker conference of the two. Still got plenty of surprise picks though overall, so let's get it started. NFC East. Now this is probably my weirdest division overall. I have not the Eagles, not the Cowboys, but the New York Football Giants finishing in first place in this division and capturing the 2 seed. Some facts about the Eagles and Cowboys that make me a little hesitant. Obviously, the Eagles were in the Super Bowl last year. Do we really expect that again? I don't know. Jalen Hurts might not have it as easy with all the, the runs and stuff. Kind of like the Bears, who we'll get to soon. And we have not had a repeat division winner in the NFC East since 2004. So that leads me to think maybe the Eagles will not be quite as good this year. They still will be second place and the fifth seed overall. In third place, definitely a surprise. I don't have this team in the playoffs. You can call it a bit of hate, but Cowboys, I just think they'll be a little worse this year. I don't know. I just don't love their situation overall with Mike McCarthy, calling plays and stuff. And they have not made a conference championship since 1995. And then in fourth place, I have pretty clearly the Washington Commanders. Yeah.
This division is certainly one of the most interesting in football this year. Three of my four divisional teams in the NFC hail from the NFC East. I think it's a conference with no real dominant team where the winner could be anyone, but the three teams at the top really are three competitive teams in what is a relatively weak conference. I do think the Eagles will repeat as division winners. I think they've got the best all around squad and the best quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Hot take, I think he's probably top 5 quarterback in the league at the moment. Maybe just riding last year's success, but then I have the Cowboys finishing 5th in the conference. I think they'll be the wild card team. I think this is the year that Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy actually do find some success in the playoffs. That's kind of been the story of the Cowboys since we've been alive. I think has been a lot of expectations, and believe me, I love to hate on the Cowboys as much as the next guy, but I'm a bit optimistic about them this year. And then the Giants, I think they definitely are a playoff team, but I think the Cowboys and Eagles will just take enough of the division wins, and I just don't trust Daniel Jones to win a division.
Yeah, no problem.
And finally, the Commanders, it's going to be a struggle, but Eric Bieniemy does give me a lot of hope, and it'll be really interesting to see if he can, elevate that team to where they can maybe compete for a playoff spot.
All right. Yeah, definitely a tough division overall to predict. We'll see what happens come this regular season. All right, the NFC North. This is another weird division where I really don't trust any of the teams right now, even though I'm a Packers fan, but I still can't say I trust us too much right now. I have the Lions winning this division, but I certainly don't love that pick. How much can you actually trust Jared Goff? I think their defense isn't great, so I have them as the 4 seed in the NFC, but, definitely I'm not falling in love with that pick. Number 2, I have the Packers, and I do have us sneaking into the playoffs as the 7 seed. And I think, Jordan Love will definitely get to see early in the year if he's actually going to be that guy for this season. It could be, there will definitely be some struggles throughout, but I think we're good enough. We got enough talent to possibly make the playoffs. 3 seed, 3 in the division, I have the Chicago Bears. And I think they'll definitely be better than last year, but, I don't know. They're still the Bears. They still suck, so, yeah. And in 4th place, this is definitely a surprise. The Minnesota Vikings, who were first in this division last year, mainly because they won all the one-possession games, but now I think they got rid of Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, some other big pieces, so they'll definitely fall off a bit, and then I think they'll lose some of those one-possession games, and then or a few more than they did last year, and then they'll end up 4th place. It's a hot take, but you never know.
I would love to be as optimistic as you are about these Packers. I think I think that we do have talent to compete for this division, but I do think it'll be certainly a big learning curve for Jordan Love. I think that we could be a team that really finds their stride at the end of the year, but these first 8, 9 games, I think will be real tough for us. So I do have the Lions coming out as the division champs. I think they will be the 4th seed. Um, but I mean, the Lions are just the best team here. There's a reason they have all this hype around them. Everyone loves Dan Campbell, and I think it's going to be a bit of a shock to all our systems. But I think the Lions do come out on top. I do disagree with you a bit on the Vikings. I know they were good in close ones last year, but it's just hard for me to drop them all the way from 13-4 and division
Yeah.
champs last year to the bottom. I think they will finish second. I think they do lose a lot of key pieces and a lot of important things, and I think they can't rely on quite the same luck they had last year. But I do think they'll finish second. I do have the Packers finishing third. I think, like you mentioned, we do still have a lot of talent. We do still have a pretty solid overall team. And I'm a little bit optimistic about Jordan Love. I think he's had a lot of time to learn, and we'll see what he's got. And finally, I do have the Bears in last place. I just can't get behind them. I think a lot of people are saying they're going to take steps forward, and I think Justin Fields will maybe see incremental progress. But we heard all that stuff last year, and they were 3-14. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just a little bit of my homerism, but I do have the Bears finishing last place.
Well, yeah, and I also don't think with the Bears, like Justin Fields will be able to do as many of those super long runs as he did last year. So,
Yeah, no, I think what separates the Packers from the Bears is the overall. I think
well, yeah,
we have a much stronger
yeah,
all around team,
especially in defense.
especially on defense.
Yeah. All right. The NFC South, another one of the weaker divisions. Um, I do have the Saints winning this division, capturing the 3 seed in the NFC. They have the most experienced quarterback by far with Derek Carr. Do I trust him in big games? No, but I think he can do enough with a solid defense to have the Saints win this division and make the playoffs. I have the Panthers as the 2 seed. I think, obviously they also have a rookie quarterback, Bryce Young. I think he'll show up a bit next year. I don't quite have them making the playoffs, but they could be a bit of a surprise team. In third place, I think a team that a lot of people are not high on, but I do still think the Buccaneers will not be terrible. Like they still have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and some other good pieces on offense, and then Levante David and other guys on defense. I think some of that experience will be enough to avoid them from being last, but they still won't be great, especially after Tom Brady retired. And then in fourth place, I have the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, I mean, they could be better, but at the same time, how much can you actually trust the Falcons? It's kind of like the Browns.
Yeah, I think this division will be really, really competitive. I think all the teams will finish within 2, 3 games of each other. It'll go right down to the wire. I think. I have the Panthers coming out on top in this division and grabbing 3 seed. I think Bryce Young with the number 1 overall pick. I think he'll be real successful. I think Frank Reich is a solid coach, and I think the Panthers are good enough to steal this one. I have the Saints sneaking into the playoffs with the 7th seed. I think Derek Carr, and I think they've got a good enough team to certainly give the Panthers a run for their money. And I mean, you had them winning the division. I have them second. I think they'll be a good team. Probably more in the 8 and 9 region, but still solid enough to compete and make the playoffs. I have the Falcons third. They have so much raw talent. I heard someone describe them as the and one mixtape of the NFL. I think that's super accurate. I think that they got a lot of athletic specimens. I think that'll propel them out of last place. And finally, despite their defense, I do have the Buccaneers finishing fourth. Um, I think they're just going to experience similar to the Packers, just a fall off from
Yeah.
Tom Brady leaving.
Yeah, I think that's like the division where you can have any team finish in
Yeah,
any
no.
spot.
You get any four of those teams, anyone
Yeah.
could win.
So we'll see what ends up happening. And finally, the NFC West. Pretty solid division overall. Also, a pretty clear team on top, at least as of right now. The 49ers, who I unfortunately have as the one seed in the NFC. They do, though, have a great defense. And if, like, Brock Purdy can continue what he did at the end of last season, then they'll definitely be right up there in the NFC. A bit of a surprise pick here at number two with the Los Angeles Rams, a team that I've seen quite a bit of hate from this offseason. But I think they'll be, healthier next year with Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp coming back, Matthew Stafford, still a solid quarterback. And I have them capturing the sixth seed in the NFC. I think they still have a solid enough roster. Third place, also a bit of a surprise, the Seattle Seahawks from dropping off from last year. But like Geno Smith was like so good last year, and they only were like 9-8. So I don't really think he'll be quite as good this season. And they also don't have a great defense. So I think you could see a bit of a fall off from the Seahawks missing the playoffs. And then fourth place could be the worst team in the league, the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, they're just. I mean, and Kyler Murray is injured. They definitely will not be in playoff contention.
Yeah, I think the 49ers are standalone, the real obvious pick for the number one seed in the whole of the NFC. I think they'll win this division running away. Um, I like the Rams to finish second. I think they will compete for a playoff spot, but ultimately, I think they'll come up short. My surprise pick is I've got the third. I've got them Cardinals finishing third. I think the Seahawks will fall off even more. I think Geno Smith will revert to the Geno Smith that we once knew, and I think that maybe Kyler Murray, this injury will be good for him, and that he'll get to just kind of reset and come back with some lower expectations. And I think the Cardinals will be able to crawl their way out of the basement.
All right, that's definitely a hot take, but you never know. It's going to be a weird NFC. But it's time to move on to our playoff picks. Starting with the wild card round. Well, actually, first I'll repeat the seeds that I have. So, first in the AFC, I have the Bengals. Second seed, I have the Chiefs. Third, the Bills. Four, the Jaguars. Five, the Jets. Six, the Chargers. And seven, the Steelers. And then for the NFC, one, the 49ers. Two, the Giants. Three, the Saints. Four, the Lions. Five, the Eagles. Six, the Rams. And seven, the Packers. But then in the wild card round, I have the 2 seed Chiefs taking care of the Steelers. Not much of a surprise there. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, as long as he's there, they'll probably at least make the divisional round. 6-seeded Chargers at 3-seeded Bills. I have the Bills, and I am pretty high on the Bills in this playoff run. But yeah, I think a lot of people are maybe a little less high in the expectations, and they'll feed off of that and could go pretty far in the playoffs. Take care of the Chargers. And then I have the 5-seeded Jets taking care of the 4-seeded Jaguars. As I said, the Jaguars kind of won that division by default. The Jets, though, are definitely one of the top teams, in my opinion, in the AFC. And I think they will make a decent playoff run as well. And then in the NFC, I have the 2-seeded Giants taking care of the 7-seed Packers. I mean, this could be an upset, honestly, but I don't know. I definitely feel like it would be just a little too biased to have the Packers in the divisional round, and the Giants have a solid enough team. Then we got the 6-seeded Rams at the 3-seeded Saints. And as I said with the Rams, I'm pretty high on them this year. I think they can make a run once again. And I think they will upset the Saints, who also kind of won their division because it was so bad. And then we got the 5-seeded Eagles at the 4-seeded Lions. And I think I'm going to pick the Eagles to at least win this game. The Lions, again, another team that just their division is so bad that they definitely should get upset pretty early in the playoffs.
Yeah, just to reiterate where my seeds are at, I have the Bengals first. Then I have the 2-seed Chiefs, 3-seed Bills, 4-seed Jaguars, 5 seed Jets, 6 seed Dolphins, and 7 seed Chargers. And then in the NFC, I have 1 seed 49ers with that bye, 2 seed Eagles, 3 seed Panthers, 4 seed Lions, 5 seed Cowboys, 6 seed Giants, and 7 seed Saints. To start it off in the AFC, I think the Chiefs will blow out the Chargers. I don't think that'll even be a contest. I think the Bills will handle the Dolphins just like they did last year, probably in some cold, snowy, awful weather game. I do think though that the Jaguars will beat the Jets. I have all my division winners through the divisional round. I think that the Jets, while they have Aaron Rodgers, he's getting older every year, as we all are. And I think the Jaguars showed a lot with that big comeback last year. I think they'll believe in themselves, and I think the Jets are just a bit too young. In the NFC, I think the Eagles will take care of the Saints pretty handily. Then I have the Giants upsetting the Panthers, if you can call that an upset. I think the Panthers just I think they might get there with Bryce Young, but I just don't think they can. I don't predict them to win a playoff game.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against them. I think they're going to be a team that gets better in the coming years, but I don't think they're there yet. And then I do have the 5-seeded Cowboys upsetting the 4-seed Lions. Again, I just struggle to believe in the Lions to advance in the playoffs. So yeah, I got all three of the NFC wildcard games being won by East teams.
Interesting. All right, then we move on to the divisional round. I get started with the 5 versus 1 matchup in the AFC, the Jets versus the Bengals. And I have the Jets going another round. I think I could envision a world where the Jets make the Super Bowl. We'll see how far I actually have them here. But I definitely think they could upset some teams like the Bengals in the playoffs. I mean, they do have a talented roster. You know, we'll see what happens with them. They were 7-10 last year, but I think they could make a run. Then we got a great matchup: the 3 Bills versus the 2 Chiefs, as usual. And this year, I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills. I think, as I said, it's kind of their time to shine in the AFC. And I think Josh Allen will definitely make a run in the playoffs and upset the Chiefs here. And then I got the 6-seeded Rams versus 1-seeded 49ers, a division matchup. And I got the 49ers winning this one pretty easily. The Rams' run in the playoffs will come to an end here. But, I also don't love picking the 49ers to go super far in the playoffs. But, as of now, there aren't too many good teams in the NFC. And then lastly, another division matchup, the 5-seeded Eagles against the 2-seeded Giants. And I'm going to pick the Eagles here. So they had the worst regular season, but they do end up getting further in the playoffs than the Giants. I think, Jalen Hurts is a very solid quarterback. Daniel Jones is not. And I think I could definitely see an upset there.
For me, I think starting the AFC, I think the Bengals will take care of the Jaguars. I think Cinderella's time will run out, and I think the Bengals are just the superior team by far. Then we get to the 2-3 Chiefs-Bills matchup, like you mentioned. It seems that we get this one every year. I do like the Chiefs to come out of this one again. I think the Bills have a lot of talent, and this game is pretty close to a coin flip, but I just think the Chiefs have proven time and time and time again that when this matchup comes up and when these close playoff games come up, I think that the Chiefs will walk out of Arrowhead with the win and with 2 wins away from the Super Bowl. I just don't think it's the Bills' time. I think we're gonna have a repeat of last year where there's a lot of hype and then it all falls short in January.
It's definitely possible.
Moving to the NFC, I think the 49ers, no matter who they play, will get the win in the divisional round. I think they will take care of the Giants. And then Eagles, Cowboys. I think the Cowboys will pull off the upset. I think I would very much enjoy if it didn't go this way, but I do think the Cowboys, this is the year they finally make it back to the NFC Championship. In an ideal world for us Packers fans, I think the Cowboys stay far away from these late rounds, but for the sake of prediction, I do think they'll make it there.
Yeah, they definitely have a very talented roster. We'll see. We'll see. They definitely could be in the mix in the NFC. But we are on to the conference championship game. This is when it gets good. We got the 5-seeded Jets against the 3-seeded Bills. And I have Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills winning this game and moving on. The Jets, I definitely, as I said, I think I could envision a world where they do make the Super Bowl. But for predictions, I mean, they were 7-10 last year, bad down the stretch. It's tough to, think they would make that big of an improvement to the Super Bowl, although it's possible. But I think the Bills are just more a complete team, more a team that I trust, and they will make the Super Bowl for the first time in a long time. And then we have the 5-seeded Eagles against the 1-seeded 49ers, rematch of last year, although different location here in San Francisco. And I think that'll help the 49ers. And, pretty much as long as they don't go to like their third string quarterback or whatever, they should be, they should definitely be competitive. And then I think I can trust them enough to at least make the Super Bowl here.
In my AFC Championship, I have my chalk, my 1-seeded Bengals taking on the 2-seeded Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will fail to make the Super Bowl this year. I think it's just hard to keep going back there every single year like they seem to be doing right now. I think it's the Bengals' turn again. I think they're going to keep taking turns here. I just really like the Bengals. There's a reason I have them as the number 1 overall seed. You do as well. I think that as long as Joe Burrow manages to stay healthy, I think that this team is talented in just about every way. So I do think they'll make the Super Bowl. In the NFC, I have the 1-seeded 49ers versus the 5-seeded Cowboys, and this is my big surprise pick. I do think that this is where not having a solid starting quarterback really catches up with the 49ers, despite all their talent. I hate to say it, but I got the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl, man. I mean, I think they've been close so many times before, and I think that as much as it'll be tough on all of us on the internet, and not being able to hate on the Cowboys will really take a toll on all of our winters. But I have them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the NFC, obviously I have the 49ers, you have the Cowboys. There are a lot of ways this could go bad. Maybe the Eagles can go back and it can be halfway decent with the Giants, but yeah, it's going to be tough. But hopefully that means that team will lose in the Super Bowl. And speaking of that, I have the 1-seeded 49ers facing off against the 3-seeded Bills, making a run to the Super Bowl. And the 49ers have not won a Super Bowl since 1994 when Steve Young was their quarterback. They've had a couple of they've made it a couple times since, so that's why I think it's reasonable for them to make it. But as I've said a lot, I think the Bills, this is their time to shine. Josh Allen, probably would end up being Super Bowl MVP. And yeah, I have the 3-seeded Bills winning it all this year. But we'll see.
Now, in my big game, I've got the Bengals against the Cowboys, and I think that this is where the Cowboys will finally get exposed. I think that Mike McCarthy will not be able to compete with Zach Taylor. I think he'll get massively outcoached. I think the Cowboys will get destroyed on the lines. And I think Dak Prescott won't be able to shine quite as bright as Joe Burrow. I think the Bengals will beat them in every facet of the game, down to special teams. And I think that even the Bengals water boys are better, to be honest. I think that this could be one of the biggest blowouts in Super Bowl history. No matter who it is from the NFC, to be honest, just because it is such a lopsided league this year. But I have the Bengals winning their first ever Super Bowl in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take it. At least the Cowboys didn't win it all, or the 49ers. And then I think the Bills also their first Super Bowl championship in franchise history. So
look out for that this year. We got a lot of good teams that have a chance to win their first.
The Jets haven't even made it since the Joe Namath days, so we'll see. It could be a very interesting playoffs this year, regular season as well. But all right, so this was the first attempt at a podcast on this channel. Seemed like we did pretty good today, right, Mr. W?
Yeah, no, I think we did amazing personally. So yeah, comment below your predictions, where you think we screwed up, because you know we did. And if you happen to somehow agree with us, show that support too. But and obviously like and subscribe if you have not already.
And also look for future episodes on the new greatest podcast of all time, otherwise known as the MW Sports Show. Okay, Mr. W, do you have anything else to say?
No, just merry football season to everyone out there, and go Pack go. And I think I can't wait for us to go 17-0 and win the Super Bowl, man. You got to stay optimistic.
Yeah,
Gotta believe.
That's spirit. Yeah, that's definitely going to happen.